Hey, the gifted. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Ask your questions tonight. Bring your questions tonight, and if you want to feature, just let us know. But yeah, we have those conversations, and I'm going to hand you over to Kelly. Yeah, you just jumped in right at the end of the.
My internet was mucking around. Sorry, guys.
It gets like that.
All good, but you just have to introduce yourself. It's in your hand.
Okay. My name is Kelly Broderick, and I am an integrative therapist working with adult individuals and couples. My practice is online, and I can be found on Inner Transitions on Instagram.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Thank you very much, Curtis and Kelly. So, as I said, audience members, it's good to see you as well. I know you guys will start flooding in as time goes on, but this is a relationship phone-in session. But before we get to the part where we start doing dilemmas and start diving deep into some of you guys, problems that you want us to tackle a little bit, we've got a few videos we want to watch and show you guys and discuss as well. So strap in, get some food for yourself, get a drink, and enjoy the entertainment and the edutainment. Someone said to me, edutainment for tonight. All right, that's where you educate and have fun. All right. So our first video, we've got it. It's on TikTok. I'm gonna bring the screen in. Hopefully, I can zoom in a little bit better so you guys can see it a bit better. I'm gonna just do this. Yeah, a little bit better. There we go. And here we go. Let me just put this back. Actually. That'll be smart, wouldn't it? All right, cool. So let's play this video and see what we get. Oh, where's my sound? Can you guys hear that? You can't hear it, can you? That's my bad. I think I haven't got sound on. Let's do that again.
If you grew up in a home that was chaotic and emotionally unstable, as an adult, dating a partner who provides consistency and stability may feel boring. So what you gonna do? You'll do everything you can to recreate the same childhood experience you had. Fights, drama, abuse, arguments. Because the feeling it gives you feels familiar, even if you don't like it. So if you don't address your childhood trauma, your relationship will. Follow for more mental health content. If you grew up in a home that was chaotic and emotionally unstable.
Wow, okay. Oh, okay. What's our thoughts around that particular piece of education there? She was talking about trauma and not dealing with traumas. What's our thoughts around that? We had a conversation about this yesterday. So what's your guys' thoughts on this? Curtis has got his mouth on his hands around his mouth. He's doing his little shake.
She's talking the truth. The work that I do with a lot of clients, it's around, one of the things that I do, the main basis of my work is going through the genogram to look at what their childhood experiences were like. So what were the relationships like within the family, within the sibling group, with the parents, with grandparents, aunts, uncles? Was there domestic abuse? Was there substance abuse? Was there broken attachments? Was there, child abuse? All kinds of, different, things that could possibly happen. Were there things that happened that nobody talked about? Did people, have to flee their homes for any reasons? That then helps us to kind of get a little bit of a picture as to how things may be playing out in the present. So, we look for familiarity. That's, we're creatures of habit, aren't we? So if you then date somebody, so thinking of somebody who may have experienced quite significant trauma in their childhood, it's going to be very difficult for them to engage in a healthy relationship because they won't know what it looks like if they've seen, a lot of abuse or a lot of people angry, shouting and things like that. They may see somebody who has a secure attachment, who's very comfortable within themselves as boring. Oh, they're just the nice guy. They want excitement. They want fireworks. But fireworks is usually a recipe for disaster. It's usually that's a very toxic relationship. So anybody who's getting into relationships where it's not butterflies but it's fireworks, then there's something to be concerned about. So yeah.
Boy, Kelly, this is your forte.
Yeah, this is my field, mate.
This is couple of things stuck out for me with this video. One, how we unconsciously choose our partners. You know, we get into relationships seeing that person as attractive, but not fully understanding why. And like someone down here said, agree and disagree. I think it's Grace, maybe. Yeah, no, Basic Goodness. Goddess. In that there's pros and cons to it. Some people try to choose the opposite to what they've experienced. And if they're trying to choose the opposite of what they experienced because they don't want to go through certain levels of negativity, that's brilliant because they're conscious. But some of us are not really that conscious. We're just being because we like what we see. We don't know why, but it's familiarity. And some of us will go through relationship after relationship choosing the same kind of girl. Same kind of girl. You listen to these rappers sometimes. Say rappers. It's not just rappers. Shame on me. Certain celebrities who just tend to just go through a lot of relationships and they're picking the same girl all the time.
But the thing is, so here's the interesting thing about growing up in a home where there may have been, you know, trauma or dysfunction, and then actively choosing to do something different. First and foremost, the work has to be done with self.
Still, even if you're trying to find a way out.
Absolutely, because it's how the thing is, you have to be aware of where some of your patterns of behavior is coming from. You're completely unaware of it. I know for me, you know, I thought I was woke, you know, until I went into therapy and it all came collapsing down around my ears like a stack of cards, because I thought I'm doing different to what I grew up and what I saw, you know, and the thing is, I consciously felt like I was doing something different, but until I had to, you know, go in and do the therapy and stuff like that, you know, you're going self-assured. Yeah, man, I know myself. Yeah, that thing came down like as quickly as it went up. But that's okay, because once you open yourself up to being able to look at, actually, there are things that are probably, you know, similar to like my mum. My mum is wonderful, wonderful lady. You know, my mum used to shout a lot, cuss and make noise. Do you know I actually do the same? My kids moan at me all the time. Why are you always shouting? I've turned into my mum, and I said I was never going to be that.
I would never be like my mum. Yeah,
I'm never going to be that parent, but I'm exactly the same. But I have to be consciously aware of, right, you know something, you've actually got to find a different way of doing this. But until you are able to really confront yourself and tell yourself the truth and recognize, hold on, when these things happen, I react like this. Where did that have come from? Where do I need to then make the change? It takes time. It takes time. It takes maturity. It takes vulnerability and transparency. And being accountable.
You know what? You've touched on something, Carl, my second point, which was, if we take a look at the relationships that we're currently in, or maybe the ones that we're chasing after, like there's someone that you're interested in, or the ones that we've just left, I think it's powerful then to identify. But let's identify what you're doing there and draw, because I don't necessarily think that who you're with is necessarily the wrong choice. It's not necessarily the case. I think it's more about what you're doing with now you're there. What can you learn and how can you progress better where you are now? Yeah. Coach.
It's so funny. We actually spoke about this last night. After the interview that we did, we had an hour session, myself and Jay, and we spoke about this very same topic about changing the patterns of behavior that you had from when you were what we've seen from your parents, right? And we spoke about how one has to become conscious of these particular issues. So, you know, I'm always like to be very nuanced about this and say, you know what, there is some people in this life that, you know what, God just gives them a grace. They don't have to sit down with themselves. It just seems like somehow, some way, they figure it out and they don't do what their parents did, right? There's a small bunch of people like that, right? So we don't count them because they're unique. Then the rest of us, the rest of us are carrying the baggage, and the baggage is a lot. Okay.
Yep.
And it shows up in different ways.
Yeah.
And this is what I was thinking about the other day, which is that the word balance. When you are healthy, you're able to understand balance. When you're not, you go either scale, too much, too little. So, for instance, we were talking yesterday about those who haven't been protected often are the most protective, which I was saying on yesterday's live, right? But there's another side to that. Those who are not protected also can be the other way, which is become apathetic. They just become, I don't want to be involved, and completely conflict avoidant. They don't want to ever be in that situation. So when you're not healthy, you can't find balance. So that's often the barometer of checking yourself where you are. Can you find the balance? How would you know the balance if you're not healthy as well? So it's kind of crazy, that point too. It's like a circle. But yeah, this particular topic, I mean, we carry our traumas into relationships. I remember when I was younger, we used to say we want to go a bit of fire. Want to go with a bit of fire.
What was it about you wanted to go with a bit of fire?
I'll tell you what that's about.
Give me a little passion, give me a little bit of heat. You know what I'm saying? Give me a little.
I think that's about sex.
That is more. It's more about sex, but it's like you want the. You don't. It's not like we're young, so we weren't necessarily looking for peace. I think this is like for men especially. This is a concept that you get when you get older, when you get more mature, and you dealt with that stuff before.
You don't want that again.
You don't want that again, right? But when you're younger, the energy is vibrant. You like a bit of the tip of the tap. I think there's a bit of toxicness in us when we grow up, that you want that. You want a bit of that argument. You know, I think Hollywood is kind of also spiced up a little bit. You know, the toxic, we make up after we've argued kind of thing, and you know, so you want that bit of spice. As you get older, you realize that is damn well toxic.
Waste of time.
Waste of time.
Yeah. That's deep. And when I said it's about sex, I think for guys, there's an element of that, which is if I get passion, and I'm going to get passionate sex. And I'm not just passionate sex, you know, because it can lead to that. So it's like that high and low. This is like drugs. You're going to get that high.
Like heroin, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that we there's an element of that, maybe subconsciously at least, where we're like, I'm going to get something for my money. You know, we are our programs. Yeah, man. Deep.
That's why parenting is so important.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, you know, they say that the first 7 years of a child's life is the most formative years, because that's where they're soaking up the environment, they're understanding patterns, they're understanding how to respond to their parents or how not to respond to them, knowing what they're going to get back, what they're not going to get back, you know, those kind of things. And they learn to read kind of the environment and things like that. So, you know, as they get older, those coping mechanisms that they would have had to have used to survive in childhood, they carry that into adulthood because they don't know any other way. So they then look through the lens of trauma, or through the lens that no one's going to look after me because my parents didn't, you know, for example. So they use those same coping mechanisms that they used in childhood in adulthood, but childhood is finished. So those same coping mechanisms don't work in adulthood. It's not effective. You know, so it's about being able to put down those coping mechanisms and to address and unpack the unresolved stuff and find healthier ways of dealing and managing. But it's it's exposing, it's painful, it takes a lot of hard work, you know, to be able to confront things that you may not remember, and you know, but if you stick with the process, you do eventually come out of the other side and look back and think, wow, look how far I've come, and I'm now learning to deal with situations differently. I have clients that I've worked with for a long time, and where I met them, you know, from the beginning to maybe where we are, you know, however long down the line, often it's like night and day, you know. And I'll tell them about the changes in terms of what I've seen. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful transition, but it's not always beautifully packaged, you know?
Do you know what I want to add to what you're saying? You know, because it's made me think. Because I think for me, every year I can look back and see some progress with me. I'm an enlightened guy. I can preach, I can teach, I can encourage, I can counsel. But when it's me, it's a different game. And one thing I would add to that, Kelly, if I may, is to say that I think that, and I'm so glad we have you on the show.
Oh, thanks.
In that, what we are talking about when we're talking about knowing yourself is a lifestyle. I would say it's a lifestyle. It's like for me now, I'm constantly, for the last few years, I'm growing in it. I'm constantly looking at myself and saying, that's my dad. That's my mom. Why do I do that? And I'm asking myself questions. I don't have all the answers, but I'm asking questions. And it's a lifestyle because what it's doing is it's making me stop and think, do I need to react like that? Do I need to be like that? Why am I doing that? Why am I stabbing myself? Why am I doing that? And I think that instead of saying, just go to therapy, I would say adopt a mindset of this is life. I will only be searching myself forever. Because I think, how can you be transparent with God if you don't even know? Like you've never learned to peel back the layers, you know what I mean? You've never undone your top button with God. You ever heard people press? It troubles me when you've got that whole vocabulary. You're right.
Curtis, I think your internet's gone a bit funny.
He's got a Ted Riley spirit going on right now.
Yeah.
That's good. We're giving us a Dalek life.
Oh, this is
Man's moving like he's in a TARDIS. Cuz. Yo, Curtis. Gracious. Don't worry, he'll come back. I'll mute him and then come back. Do you want to carry on, Kelly? Or should I carry on?
You carry on. Because he was in full flow.
He was in full flow, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is he back? You back, Curtis?
I'm back.
Oh boy, you got that Ted Riley stuff going on, bro.
Yeah.
You need to exit and come back in. But no, just as in what he was kind of saying, I think myself also as well, you know, I'm trying to always do a check-in as well, as in where this behavior is coming from. You know, we said this on the live yesterday as well. We said I had those moments where I'm like, yo, that's my dad, bro. That's not me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I learned that from my dad. Where's that coming from? And that's not everything I reject from my dad, by the way. It's, you know, I just find there's some things which I'm like, I don't really like that. That's not how I like it to be, you know? And I think, you know, as Curtis was saying about, you know, checking yourself and stuff like that and kind of seeing, you know, I do that a lot, but I would say there's an era of pride, you know, which comes from the independence, you know, growing up in a household where, you know, you got to do a lot of things for yourself. I wouldn't say so much things for yourself, but you learn how to be independent to get certain stuff done.
Yeah.
And that comes with a level of pride, you know, not being able to ask people for help. And also as well, it comes with a level of pride because no one can tell me nothing unless it's wisdom. I don't want to hear it. Like I just can't do it. Like that's why I've been around Curtis, because Curtis is one of those few people that when I'm around, I'm like, okay, bro, whatever you say goes. So like if I'm with you, there's few people that when I'm with them, if I roll with you, it means that whatever you say will go. And there's other people I hate them. I'm like, I don't want to hear a word you got to say because I don't think you got wisdom when you're talking. I just think
I'm going to send you my bank details and watch that.
No worries, cuzzy. I got you, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, investing into the future. You get me? You feel me? But that's honest. That's the truth. Like, you know, and it's a positive. It's a negative. Do you know what I mean? Because that area of pride means there's certain things I probably won't learn because that pride will stop me from learning from certain people because I think, you ain't really adding nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you don't know all your blind spots. You know what I mean?
No,
So
you don't. So
you
think you do, but you think really you do. Don't. Yeah, that's the biggest. That's the biggest kind of what's the word that I want to say? That's the biggest kind of thing that we really don't understand. We really don't understand our blind spots. we don't have the wisdom and the discernment to understand it. You know, we have so many blind spots. So even like when you think about your village, you know, so we're talking about a lifestyle. So Curtis was talking about, you know, being kind of grounded and really working on yourself. That's about a lifestyle. Yeah. Part of your lifestyle is also having a village around you, because no man is an island. But your village needs to comprise of people who can hold you accountable and you hold them accountable. But also as well, you trust them to be able to point out the blind spots that you don't see. So for me, one of the things that I always say is that I might have an idea or I've got a belief or yeah, I want to try something, or I'm going to make a decision. I don't always just trust myself. And that's not because I can't trust myself, you know what I mean? And that I don't make wise decisions. But I'm very, very aware that there are lots of blind spots. And I need those to be able to point some of those things out for me, you know, in case I've missed them. So I always say that when you're in the picture, you can only see what's around you in the picture. But your people are outside of the picture. They can see the whole portrait, so they'll be able to let you know the things that you can't see. But it's only the ones that you can truly trust. So you're saying about when people are speaking, you know, speaking to you, do you trust their word? Are they wise? Are they discerning? Do you know what I mean? You have to be really, really careful who you're allowing to speak over your life.
Curtis, you there? Your thing is still doing Ted Riley, bro. You might want to check the internet connection right now. Your thing is doing a lot right now. We can't even get the audio from you, bro. I can't even get the audio from him. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, you're right. I mean, you know, the blind spots that we have, you know, and that's where that's where if you're prideful, you struggle to be able to. You know, you struggle to be able to be open to hearing those particular critiques. You know what I mean? When someone's saying, "Hey, you got a blind spot here, bro. Like, have you seen it this way? Have you looked at it this way?" You know, and so yeah, this is, and that all goes back, like we're saying, to the beginning when you were younger and how you process information, how you dealt with your parents, and how the relationship was formed. So you're right. Everything always boils down back, more than likely, to childhood. And absolutely, if we can get the story of childhood and how certain incidents played out for you in your life or my life or someone else's life, you kind of get the keys to the mindset, you know, because train up a child in a way to go and he will not depart from it. That includes the negative stuff.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
A lot. Yeah. Well, Mr. Curte is not here yet, so he'll come back. Oh, there he is. Let's see if we can get him on and let him finish his point. He's with the cat. Let's see if he's able to come back.
Okay.
He's really got the spirit of Ted Riley today, bro.
Oh no.
You can hear me?
Not great,
bro. Have you got?
Gosh, he's gone again. His internet is on some books.
It's on some books things. No way. Listen, we'll watch the other video, and I'm sure you'll let us. He's watched it before, so he knows what it is. So
okay,
I'll put the other video on, and we'll discuss that a little bit as well. All right, let's get the other video up. Okay. Okay. There we go. And share system, and there we go. All right. There we go, and let's put a sound on. Okay. That's our second video, guys. We're just going to play it for you guys.
Husband to be successful, because I didn't need my husband. I was already successful and up before I had him.
What are you talking about?
You don't need a husband to be successful. Not at all. You don't need a husband
what
to be the queen of a throne.
Look like? What does successful look like, boys?
happy in your own skin, happy with the person that you are, and love with the person that you are, that you don't have to look for a man to love you because you already love yourself. And that's what I mean by a successful female, because success can look in any other way.
Is this successful female going to have children?
Yeah, she may have children. She may have
so,
children.
So
she may.
So is part of being successful with kids?
Yes, you can be successful with kids. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So how can you be in this, what you just painted out to be successful without being married, and you have a child in this scenario? So without
the child has nothing to do with that scenario.
Children has everything to do with that scenario. So when you said a woman can be successful and not get married, when you add a child to that, she is no longer successful. She is now a single mother. And being a single mother is not success. Single motherhood is failure. A child, a family comprises of a man and a woman, not a woman. If you are a single mother, there is a certain amount of failure. And I'm sorry to say this, but we got to stop this shit. We have to look at life the way it actually is instead of what y'all asses want it to be. For you to sit here and say you could be successful, cool, yes. But when I started asking you different parts of the success, and you started adding children, well, if there's no man in the household, if there's no man leading, helping you raise that child, sorry, that is not success. If you would have said, oh, a woman can make millions of dollars, not that success. But there is no success when there's only a mother and not a father in the household, because then you're thinking selfishly. You may feel like you're successful, but does your child think you're successful? Does your child think that they're successful? No, because they didn't have no daddy. And even if the daddy was around, they didn't have a daddy raise them in the same household. There is no success without the intact family. Now, I've admitted in my own life that I have a failed marriage, and I spent time with my kids, but I was no longer in the household. See, with all of us, just like what you're saying, you've been through a lot, right? Mm-hmm. The number one thing we have to do is stop being children and be real with ourselves and say, hey, I do have a certain level of failures in my life. Therefore, I cannot do them again. A lot of these ladies.
Woman doesn't need a husband to be successful, because I didn't need my husband. I was already successful and up before I had him.
That's a lot.
That conversation took a turn. Because I saw there was two or 3 points that were being argued. So it wasn't one point. So they were I don't even say they were missing each other. The conversation flow went somewhere. But I actually saw both points of view in the end. But
I get it. Yeah, but I think the delivery was completely horrific. But do you know what I mean? So that just kind of, for me, that just distracted me. It was the part of it was her a little bit in the way how she was trying to, I guess, explain herself, and maybe she felt she had to over-explain. I get that. Yeah, but I thought it was a lot of noise.
It was a lot.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, you're breaking up a bit.
A bit. You're back now. Wait.
Okay, you're kind of back. Yeah.
Sorry. You better go on that 4G. Your Wi-Fi is on a Wi-Fi thing. You better try that 4G. Yeah, carry on, bro. Try it. See what
might have to be.
Oh, yeah, you must get on that 4G, my G. Get on the 4G. Your internet is moving absolutely. Your internet is moving. Get on the 4G, sir. Get on the 4G.
Oh gosh.
Yo, he'll come back. He'll come back.
He's coming like America Online.
Like, his thing is smoky. Yeah. So to watching a video, I think the first I want to deal with it in sections, because that
I think we need to. Yeah, let's break it down.
The very first thing that she said, I agreed. She said, obviously, a woman can be successful without a husband or even a partner. I think depending on what we're measuring by success here, right? Do you know what I mean? If we're talking about financial success, she doesn't need a husband, she doesn't need a partner, she doesn't need a man. Hey, people don't need a family to do this. They just need to be able to do what they need to do and do it successfully, right? So I'm with her on that, and then I think his delivery after that, he come back to the point which I didn't see. I think that's where the conversation went really left, because when he come back to that point, rather than making a separate point to say, I hear that. And what I'm trying to say is that in this area of life, when we're talking about having a unit family, this area can be looked at as, if you want to call it, a failure. We weren't able to keep a family unit, the original family unit, in terms of having a child with the father and the mother, to keeping them together. So that I could have worked with, but he went for her point. And just to make this point, which then makes me think, was ever the argument really about what the point that he was making, or was he just trying to shut her up, or was he just trying to get a win on her?
I don't know. It felt like some kind of Kevin Samuels kind of vibe.
That's what I was feeling.
It was like, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, this is like Kevin Samuels. Well, you're not actually, because you can't. You have to break it down. It's not one of those kind of arguments that you can just brush over with one brush. Do you know what I mean? It has to be taken in sections. So yeah, you can be successful with or without a partner, if it comes to monetary kind of success. If it comes to kind of, wanting to raise healthy children, in a 2-parent home, see, now that's where it can become a bit sticky, because who you marry or who you have a child with, you don't know what kind of traumas that could be playing out, and that could have broken down the relationship. Also, as well, we've got to look at, if there's some kind of abuse going on, like if there's some domestic violence and things like that, is it worthwhile staying in a relationship just to keep the child in a 2-parent home where there's clear trauma going on? Or is it better for the couple to split, so that, the main caregiver, whether it be mum or dad, however the situation is, can create a sense of security for that child. But if they're able to then have, a positive relationship with the other parent and have, just as much involvement with the other parent. Do you know what I mean? It's not ideal.
That's the key word.
It's not ideal, but I guess it's about thinking it's what you understand of family, because gone are the days where in my grandparents' day it was death till you part, and a lot of those relationships were horrible. Some of the men were philandering all up the place and had other families, or there was a lot of abuse, or they disappear, or just not managing, not being able to be the head of the home. Do you know what I mean? And cause a lot of stress for mum and the children. It's not that time anymore. Women are more empowered, and they say, listen, this is not for me. I can't do this. We're gonna have to separate. So I think everything has to be taken into context. It can't be a blanket kind of rule. I think that this guy was projecting some of his own stuff into whatever argument was going on. Maybe she was projecting some of her stuff in, because maybe she felt judged, by him, the way how he came for her, and almost kind of question, you think being successful as a single parent is, you know what I mean? So I'm just wondering if there was some transference and counter transference going on in that kind of debacle there, why it was very, very confusing. Yeah.
Do you know what? I can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. 5G.
So I'm on the 4G, man. I'm on the 4G.
Oh, 4G. Okay.
4G plus, apparently.
Oh, okay.
I could hear, and this is why I'm upset with Kevin Samuels and that gentleman there. I'll tell you why I'm upset, because not everything that they're saying is wrong.
Yeah.
But delivery is as powerful as truth.
I say this all the time.
You understand? It's like you've got good food. There's 2 different ways to plate it up, and you can plate up good food in a way that makes it unappetizing. People will walk out of your restaurant even if they're hungry, because it's disgusting the way you prepared it. And people like Kevin Samuels are destructive, especially to the black community, which suffers a lot. The black women, because the way they plate food. And the only women that will turn up to them are desperate women. People who are starving will ask of him advice.
Yeah.
And that angers me. Because what he then gives them is a version, the way that he's throwing the food at them is a version of love that they're prepared to accept because they're vulnerable, because they're hungry. This girl, on the back of that, it was interesting for me. You could hear the struggle in her voice, the struggle of life, the struggle of identity, the struggle of I've messed up, I've made my mistakes, and I'm fighting to get out. Because America's a different game sometimes.
Yeah, it's a whole.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're very different to us over here.
They've got a lot more oppression, I think, or different kind of oppression.
It's a different kind of pressure. It's because it's all pressure, isn't it? But it just looks different.
And I think she dragged herself out of any mess that she's been in. She's made an effort, but you can see the pain on it. You can see the pain on it, and I'm like, men who naturally are so often in a position of power need to be careful how we pull each other out of mess. It's like, Kelly, you and I, Kojo, we all support people. There's a way to talk to people when they're wrong, when they're struggling, when they're vulnerable. We don't even need to talk about failure.
It's not failure.
Even if it was. Even if it was.
But the thing is, though, you know what I mean? You know, a child is a blessing, regardless. You know, and failure, you know, to whose standard? What you know, what does that mean? You know, I just think that to him that may seem like failure, but to her that might not be failure. Do you know what I mean? And that's okay. It
cannot be failure to bring up your children the best way you can.
Absolutely. But for him, he's taking that. He sees it as failure. So that's his opinion. And he's entitled to that opinion.
Yeah.
It's an agree to disagree. That's your opinion, but that's not how I see it. Do you know what I mean? And that's okay. And I guess it's important to, and this is why I'm saying about projection, when you're projecting your stuff into that person and locating the issue in them. Do you know what I mean? So he's located the issue in her, whatever her situation is. And actually for her, they're not, it's not the same thing. You know, she's not seeing it the same way as he's seeing it.
And then that leads us on to the whole issue of be careful whose narrative you take on. Because at the end, oh man, am I breaking up again?
No, you're here.
Yeah. My Wi-Fi is coming back on. It takes about 10 minutes. We have to be careful whose narrative we take on and whose narrative we live by. If it's a religious narrative, if it's your social group's narrative, is it a narrative that is conducive to you to bring up children? Is it a narrative that's conducive for you on God, to stand up straight, to wake up every day and keep going? Whose narrative are you living in? I think that we have to be, especially women, have to be careful of that, because I think there's too much out there now, too much power out there where women are being belittled because of mistakes they've made. Just because of their mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I watched it, obviously, like I said, I think there is, like I said, I'm trying to read it, and there's like I said, there's two different arguments happening, and that's the problem here. And obviously, like, yeah, delivery. You said my point, which is delivery is always an important. You know, it's very. In fact, delivery is a key thing. I've always said it's love. Saying truth without love is cruelty. You know what I mean? The Bible says you are a clanging cymbal when you want to say something or do something. You want to operate in the gifts of the Spirit, but you have no love. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, it's important to have that delivery on point, because that message being sent has to be received. That's the reason why you said the message. You said the message so that someone can receive it. What is the point of sending a message? It gets wet in the rain and no one can read it. Well, what was the point of sending it in the first place then, bruh? Do you know what I mean? So it's important. The delivery's always got to be the most biggest thing important. Now, I've always said the same thing, and it's probably I know I'm gonna be hated. I'm gonna be hated. You know, similar to Kevin Samuels and similar to this gentleman here, I always say I want to extract the truth from what you're saying, right? Because I think we have to repackage what's happening. For instance, right? For instance, what that gentleman said that without context, we don't know where she's come from, right? So now when you deliver that message, more than likely it's going to come at the wrong angle because it's going to be very flat, which is you didn't make it with the boyfriend or the husband or whatever, and now that's a failure without the actual understanding. Ooh. I think he's got 2 lots in there. Hold on. Without the understanding of the context, it's going to be a very flat message, right? And so that's probably why he's hitting such a brick wall, and the way it's coming off in such a hideous way. I think in general as an argument, right? And I said this, and I said people might disagree, and we can discuss this as an argument. I don't see failure, and this is the word failure that's the problem. Because how everyone sees failure. For instance, right? If I was to say I failed in my first business, nobody's going to say anything, right? Because we accept failure as a term for business. It's not a problem. When we say you failed, right? Let's say, for instance, I failed in a relationship. Now one feels like they're being judged because the word failure has a different kind of context, has a different kind of weight in a different context, right? So the wording has to be important, right? So the truth of the matter is, if I get into a relationship, it doesn't work out. Can that be a failure? Yes, it is a failure. I failed. But is a failure mean like I said this last time? If you fail, does that mean that we're done? Does it mean I'm thrown away? Does it mean I'm not good? Does it mean that that I can no longer date anyone else after this? No, it just means that I took an L here and I had to learn. Because that's what we say in business. If you failed, business people say all the time, I failed here, I failed here, I failed here. It wasn't for my detriment. It was to make me better. You know what I'm saying? So I get what he was saying, right? In a sense of the fact that the family unit, because let's be honest, you didn't get into having a child with somebody to quit that relationship. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you weren't aiming to be a single mother. If you were, I'm not about that life, but you weren't aiming for that. So what you were aiming for, you didn't succeed in it. And the same with any man who also as well gets into a relationship and then has a kid with a woman and then disappears. You have failed. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's in that context. Now, I think the way he spoke about it, I would never call it a failure to someone because I already know what the word will, that word would entail.
We don't need
right?
to.
It would instantly cause a wall to come up and we can't have a discussion. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? So, and because of the way he was coming, his point was contradicting her original first point, which is where he's wrong, right? Because her first point was you can be successful without a husband, without a man. And that was her original point. And then he's trying to counteract it by saying
she's a failure as a mother.
She's a failure, basically. And that's where he's and so he's instantly
so it's a blanket. He's
angle.
put a blanket statement over she's a failure.
Yes.
You know? But then a failure in a relationship, is that a failure or is it just an ending? An ending of this chapter.
It's a pretty way to say it. It's a failure.
Maybe.
We failed.
No, but you know what it is? The context of that label, that's a label, right? The context of that label is important. We failed in relationships, we failed in marriage, yeah. But if I plant that concept, that narrative in your head, you can live that. And that's why I'm angry, because he's just told her she's a failure. And
in general, it's political.
Yeah,
it's an issue. Like, you don't take a moment of my life, and this is why you've got to thank God that God is judge, because he's not going to take a moment of your life and then sum you up in that whole moment. And this is one thing that I know, and this is what I was coming to earlier on. Like, I know churches that really do pound down on women when they have sex outside of marriage. The big classic, and they're never the same after that. They're never the same after that. And that's because they've taken one narrative and they've summed you up, and that's you. You've got to spend the rest of your life trying to climb that ladder back to where you were. That, and Kelly, I don't want to start you off, you know.
My head is hurting. I can't bear it.
It's deep.
I just can't. I'm sorry.
People take that on. Kevin
Yeah.
Samuels, he's no different from one of those ministers. This guy here, not different from one of those ministers who take the gospel. Remember, it was the Crusaders in the name of God that killed millions of people. You know, in the name of God.
But here's the thing: it goes back to, you know, the Kevin Samuels, the Derek Jacksons, all these cats, right? You have to be very, very careful who you're taking counsel from. Do you understand? That brother got his own issues. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what I'm saying about projection. Not everybody has the wisdom and the discernment to be able to do this, because you've got to be able to take self out. So what also happens is when you're on a platform like that, you have to be very, very careful and very clear exactly what it is that you're talking about. So you made a very blanket statement. Do you know what I mean? And it just, you know, he completely just, you know, burnt the place down. That's it, done. Can't have no conversation after that. Do you know what I mean? So my thing is that, you know, unless you're going to be able to talk with love, speak with love, no judgment, and, you know, vulnerability and transparency, and really kind of being mindful of how you're bringing things to the table to have a conversation. Mindful. You know, you have to take time. So when people are, you know,
people can be delicate, you know.
Listen, we're all very delicate. Let's not get it twisted. We're all delicate, but we all respond in different ways. So we may respond in anger, but anger doesn't necessarily, you know what I mean? That's hurts, that's upset, that's pain, that's anxiety. Or how do you understand? But it's displayed in it. We are all we're all sensitive beings. We may not think that we are, but actually the way how our bodies respond, our bodies will respond in different ways. Do you understand? That may make us think, actually, no, I'm not that sensitive, but actually we are, you know, and that's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's okay. But we have to be very, very mindful as to how we're delivering, how we're speaking. Truth. Are we speaking from, you know, the blanket truth, or are we just kind of just being curious, or are we just saying, look, this is my experience. My experience is not your experience. So, you know,
let's be on measure. Let's be on measures comment. I don't know if you see it, Kelly.
Compassionate shouldn't be a lost art. Absolutely. Compassion shouldn't be a lost art.
It's you know what it is? Truth packaged the right way.
It's like sweetness to the soul.
Come on. You can turn anyone around.
Yeah.
Speak to them right.
Yeah. It might be painful, some of the things that you might have to say, but it can be delivered in such a beautiful way that it just opens up the opportunity for overstanding. I say overstanding, I must sound like I'm Rasta. Understanding,
religion thing.
You know, love, you know, just wanting to support. Do you know what I mean? It's so important.
I also want to big up single mothers.
Yeah.
I'm not a feminist by any means, probably in part, but rearing kids as a female by yourself can't be a joke. Can't be a joke. Just saying.
It's not a joke.
I'm with you guys. You know what I mean? I'm with you guys. I said I'm with you guys. You know. I'm with you guys. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, like, I think I watched a little bit behind the scenes, and I was like, yeah, like I said, I think the gentleman just needs to chill a little bit. You know what I mean? But I think again, it's not just delivery. Actually, it's actually missing the point, right? So when someone makes because he's already got a point in his head already that he wants to make. That is why he's responding and not listening. Because I just watched it again, and at one point she said, you know, you can be successful with kids. You can be successful with kids, and you can be successful without kids. And then his point responding was, so you're saying now, so you agree with my point now. You're saying that obviously the success is you having kids. And then he went on to marriage. Why? Because he wasn't listening. He had already had a point in his mind to discredit and make sure that, okay, look, if you're a single mother, you failed. And that's where that's where he was coming from. So it already was a preconceived idea that he had to put into the conversation. So he wasn't actually listening to respond. He was listening to be right. You know what I mean? And so that's why that conversation goes the way it does. Because if he actually listens, if he watches it again, hopefully he watches it back again and he hears it, he'll hear what she was actually saying. They were making two different points. It sounded similar because they were using similar words, but they were making two different points.
Well, it's quite manipulating because that's exactly what Kevin Samuels does. No matter what you come with, he's going to steer it to that narrow narrative theme framework that he has prepared already.
Yeah.
All that effort put into studying statistics and facts around what women need to be and who's beautiful and who's not and who's going to be successful. All that energy when you could have took them and brought them out in a different way.
Statistics doesn't tell you the full story. There's no context towards in statistics. It's just it's just a number. It's just a figure, you know. And you know, if you're going to use that as the basis of your argument, then you've already lost. Do you know what I mean? And you've already missed the point, because actually it's about taking on, you know, and understanding people's individual circumstances, you know?
I mean, again, I would say I don't take up for KS. I don't take up from at all. But I think I had a men's panel. We were talking about this situation. I said, why are men following KS? A lot of them are hurt. A lot of them are bruised. But a lot of them have found they've found a prophet in KS, right? Someone who can say the things that they wanted to be said, right? He is now the king barbershop person on YouTube, right? This is the kind of some of the conversation. What I mean by that is that some of the conversations that some of these men will have would normally exist in the barbershop amongst men. Some of the things that they talk about. This is what we talk about amongst men in the barbershop. They have these chop shop talks, right? And he's brought that from barbershop to YouTube and made it part of an ethos to live by. And the problem with the ethos is, and this is why when you take Christ out of a situation, the problem you get is that it becomes about power and not about actually how God has designed for relationships and marriage to actually be, which is why whenever you start somewhere and you don't start at the source, which is God, you will always go into error eventually, because one party or the other, or two parties and three parties, whoever, will eventually try to usurp and take power, because their definition of what they think is success or what they think is a right relationship is whatever they want it to be. It's about them and not about the other person. We talk about this all the time. We will say marriage is what? Servitude. Well, that's not what Kevin Samuels is promoting. What he's promoting is how to make sure marriages don't fail. But that in itself is a failure. If we're only aiming to make sure marriages don't break up, that's actually a failure, because you could be unhappy in a marriage and make it to the end. This is what we've been seeing in generations past. Listen, I don't get excited about grandparents and grandparents gone far who stayed in marriages, because if they were unhappy and they were getting beaten or they were being abused or they were in a situation where they couldn't leave because they have no money, that is not a success. And then that becomes an idol over what God has said for us. Success in that area is fantastic. We love it. But if you're aiming to just keep your marriage to prove to the world that you've been successful in this area, but you live a life of unhappiness and you're alone and you don't even actually have a partner, but you have a ghost and a shell who's living with you, what was the point then? You must have been alone, right? So, you know, that's why, you know, a lot of the conversations go left, because the original starting point is left already, you know? Yeah.
I could talk all day.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Okay, cool. So we got a little bit of a dilemma. Today we got a little dilemma for you guys. And you know, it's a deep one. I'll read it for you because I can't put it on it because it's quite a long one. So, let me see if I can. Actually, no, I can show you guys actually on the screen. That would help, so you guys can actually watch it as well. It'll be easier following it. So let me do this. Oh. We go.
Don't delete yourself, bro.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I almost deleted myself, bro. Almost deleted myself, bro. Okay, let's have a look. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna have to make that bigger so you guys can see it.
Okay.
Is that readable a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Computer,
So the dilemma says, I'm writing in for your next relationship panel. I've been in a relationship for the last 5 months. The guy I've been dating has been great, emotionally expressive, always has my back, and is romantic. However, I started noticing that he has the tendency to lie. It started off with him not telling me he went on 2 dates with a close friend. Nothing went further. They didn't vibe before we met. I ended up finding out because she told me, then I confronted him. This broke down my trust, but I still proceeded with the relationship as he was everything I wanted in a man. A few months later, and I recently found out that he lied about so many things to impress me because he didn't feel good enough for me. This included lying about the fact he has a master's. He hasn't even got a degree, a driving license, saving for a property to get. Wait. Well, hold on. This included lying about.
That's a jump in it.
He has a master's. He hasn't even got a degree, driving license, saving for a property together and his own property. He has a property in his name, but it's essentially a family investment, not exactly his. These are all things that I do have, as well as a successful career in big tech company. I'm so torn. I'm ready to settle down, and he is the closest to the one that I've ever gotten at the age of 29. He says he loves me dearly and wants to start again, a clean leaf. I'm afraid that he's a compulsive liar, and the lies won't stop here. What is your advice? Oh, I already know what the advice is. I already know what the advice is.
I don't want to laugh. It's not professional.
I already know what the advice is.
Where was that woman? Remember that woman with red flag.
Wally British. Wally British. Yeah, I need her right now.
Oh, this is painful. I was just it was just like stab. It's like, she's so close, but yet so far. You know, it's that kind of thing. And it sounds as though for her, she's just like everything that up until the point that she found out that he was lying, he was everything that she wanted. And bit by bit, the stack of cards just started to fall down. And he's lying about very fundamental things, and you just think she needs to really take some time out for her and really reevaluate exactly what it is that she actually wants. Is it him? Is it the image? Is it...
AW just said it. AW said it.
You're just tired of looking. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. She's just like, you know what? It's not so bad. Nearly there. Let's just do it. Yeah, it would be.
Do you know what? Sorry to cut you, sis. Sorry to cut you. Listen to this. Before we get to the red flags, the problem was before the red flags. Yeah, of which there are many.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is AW hit it on the head. I had a conversation with someone recently. They're in a relationship. They don't know if they want to start again.
It's hard to start again. I get it.
But what it is that their approach to the relationship is back to front. So, when you start living with someone and having sex, and then you're getting to know someone, that's like putting the cart before the horse. That's like trying to build a house from the top down. Because there are certain foundations that need to be in and certain things that need to be done before you get that deep. So I'm saying to this person that, guys, if I can advise you, romance is not a sign that you're meant for each other or that you're in love. It's not the thing.
No.
Romance is not it.
Because romance will dead very quickly.
Come on, it's like flower. It's like a flower.
As soon as you cut it, it starts to die.
It is not the relationship. It's nice and you need it, but it is not to be confused with love. Yeah. I hope you're watching, whoever you are. And the fact that, and this is my first point, Kelly, before you come to yours, to pick up on the end of this one, is the fact that you just feel that I've invested so much is a dangerous mindset sometimes, because it will make you, like someone said, settle now when you reach the red flags. You've done your maths, and the maths that people do for relationships is this: according to how I feel. Their maths isn't based on truth necessarily. It's based on what do I want. So people can bend the ruler.
Yeah.
and say, it's going to be good because he loves me or because he's romantic. I know romantic cheaters. I know a few. I could talk, you know. I don't want to hog the mic today. You have to cut me. This is a ready red flag situation. There's blood everywhere.
Red flag.
This brother's dressed in red.
Yeah.
It's a red flag still. I'm not gonna lie to you. But you know what? I mean, it's tough. You know, she's invested 5 months, because she went past the red flags, and obviously now she's in it. That's probably the difficulty. It's turning back after 5 months. It's like sometimes you're already there. You want to try and make it work. Do you know what I mean?
She doesn't trust him though. She needs to check in with her intuition. She doesn't trust him. She doesn't trust it. And here's the thing: we already have the answers to our questions. Do you know what I mean? And you know, if she just gives herself 5 months is not a long time, right? To, you know, be with somebody and recognize and realize, wait, 1 second, you're not for me. Do you know what I mean? That's not a long time,
Only 5 months.
you know, because actually better the 5 months of getting to know that, you know, who this guy really is than marrying him and then finding out all kinds of things. And by then you're tied up, you know, in some different ways, you know? So the reality is that her intuition is probably talking to her, you know, and telling her, no do it, I beg you, no do it. Do you understand? It's already talking to her. Her intuition is talking to her. It's like the Holy Spirit. It's talking to her, talking to her and telling her. And it's almost like she's trying to kind of, oh, but he's not that bad. Oh, but, you know, he's lied about, you know, you try and bargain with, you know, with your conscience. Oh, but it ain't that bad. Oh, you know, we've all done it. Every one of us has done it where you know you're not meant to be in the situation, but it was so sweet. You're just like, yo, I can change this person. Listen.
This is the biggest thing, Kelly. No disrespect to people, but please learn from what we're saying, right? For me, this is the biggest trap that is fallen into by women when they come across a man. They will bypass because they don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
They will bypass every red flag with a siren on it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be alone. And I get that. And actually, to be fair, I respect it because everybody to kind of deserve someone. It's a madness out there. But let me say this. If there was one piece of advice I could give, it would be this. Do not enter relationships based on romance. Enter in based on friendships. Be a friend first. That way, if that man, after 5 months, so you've described 5 months here, if after 5 months he can't be honest with you, then he's not your friend.
His integrity is all wrong.
It's insecurity. And that plays out ugly later on.
Ugly, man. I'm telling you, you see people like that in court, you know? You know, it's more painful and more traumatic to go down that route than it is to say, okay, 5 months, all right, I've learned some things about you that ain't really, you know, it's not really aligning with my morals and my values. I wish you all the best. You know what I mean? Thanks, but no thanks. And that's okay. But I tell you what, if
according to Maria S, we have to. The answer is to be an introvert. She says I'm an introvert, so being alone doesn't bother her. So it makes it easier not to settle. I love it because I'm an introvert as well. But one thing with me though, this is the truth. In relation to that, is that I grew up with low self-esteem. But what I wouldn't do is present something that didn't exist. So I would say to a woman, this is me. When I started dating a woman years ago, when I say years, obviously I've been married 20 years, so it's time in it. You're looking about 25 years ago. I know. It's a long time. It's a long time, Kelly. She had money and I didn't. I was earning £9,600 a year.
I was a whole heap of money back then. What are you talking about?
£9,600 a year. Yeah. I was living by myself. I was living with my gran. And she had her own house. But I was never going to say, boy, I got this and I got that. If she don't take me the way I am, like I want to sleep at night knowing that we both know who each other are. I just pray that women just start turning their minds towards that mindset. And guys, you don't have to put on the act. If you want to live with someone for the rest of your life, be yourself. I'm poor. I'm wretched. I'm naked. That's my friend will accept me. And I've had a girlfriend who I wasn't even earning. I was earning, in fact, I remember my first girlfriend, I was 16, 17, I was with her for 4 years. I was earning, when I was with her, £3.45 an hour. Wasn't a problem. We were friends. We were friends. I'll leave that there.
I think, you've hit the nail on the head. Be yourself. Being yourself means being able to really think about what it is about this relationship that makes you want to consider keeping it, What is it about being on your own that makes it feel so intolerable that you're willing to be with somebody who is not being honest with you and you don't trust? Are you looking for it?
I like what you're saying. I like what you're about to say. I like what you're saying.
Are you looking for validation outside that you should be getting from within?
You're talking to who? The guy or the girl?
To the girl. The guy, he's insecure and, there's a lot of work that he needs to think about doing for himself, but he has to be willing and ready. But I'm saying it to the girl because she's the one that wrote in. So clearly her, her conscience is already, has led her to, kind of talk about what's going on for her. So that then goes to show that there's something that's not feeling right within her spirit, but she's asking questions, but she knows the answer. But for her, her feeling is that she's invested so much. And my thing is, it's only 5 months. What is it about this relationship that makes you feel that you can't just let it go? What is it about it? What is it feeding, within you? That being on your own and being true to who you are and what it is that you deserve. What is it that relationship is feeding and giving you? And what the relationship is giving you, could that be a toxic trait? Just something to just consider. Not to say that it is, but it's something to consider. What happened in her childhood that, maybe has left her feeling as though she's not chosen, and maybe this guy has wooed her and, chosen her, it's not honest what he's done, but when you've not been chosen before, and this man, because if he's lying about certain things, I then kind of wonder, did he love bomb her? And that's real when people love bomb, a potential mate, and it's overwhelming for a woman. It's, the amount of love, it's wonderful. Do you know what I mean? It's overwhelming. You cannot believe that this is happening. You think you're vibing and this is going to be forever, because that's how as women we do think. When we're meeting a man, we're looking at potential. We're looking at, could he potentially be somebody that I marry? Could he be the father of my children? Could we build an empire together? We're looking at those things, even in those early days, even in the dating, when you're asking questions, it's because we have an intention. We're genuinely interested to know, what is it that you're bringing to the table? Is it something that I can work with? Is it something that we can do together? And he came with lies.
I like that. I just don't like to hear that people are so wooed so early on without enough evidence. And that speaks to you. Like, if you're going to be that, we use the term gullible, and I don't mean that disrespectfully.
Yeah.
But if you can be wooed that easy, you are a problem for yourself, really. You just got to really kind of develop some more wisdom in your actions, because maybe you're an emotive, maybe you're like that. And I don't think that's a problem, because in a relationship, it's really nice for a man to have someone who's receptive like that. But check yourself. There's something else I want to say as well. There's two things actually. I think it's fine to move with a guy who just is nowhere near as successful as yourself. Walk that walk together, build each other up. I think that's fine. So the fact that he doesn't have, and that moves on to the other thing I want to talk about, is that, brother, you don't want to walk into any relationship deceptive. You step up to a woman who's earning six figures and you're on McDonald's, and she likes you, she likes you. Do you know what I mean? And be honest about where you're at. What are you laughing at, bro?
I just remember I have a situation.
Come true with this, bro. Come true.
No, I just
look what this girl did to my boy.
Context for why this guy's lied, in it. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not excusing the baby, by the way. He needs to go and help. He needs help. He's insecure. But I remember a situation. This is like just after university, right? I'm now 21, and I had been working in McDonald's for like 3-4 years now, because I worked in it when I was in sixth form, right? So I'm in McDonald's, but this is when I actually started my blog. I started my Gentleman Extraordinaire blog, right? I used to write a blog. So now I'm in Leicester with my boys, and we're playing Let's Move to These Girls, right? So we're out at night. It's like 9 o'clock, whatever. I'm trying to talk to different women out on the street, right? So two girls come out the library, right? Bad Ghanaian girl comes out the library. I'm excited. I'm like, brother, I got this one. All right. So I bop over there and I start, do my, I say, hey, excuse me. Because I think another guy was trying to talk to her, and I said to her, why didn't you give that guy no time? Whatever. She started laughing. We started laughing, and then we started walking and talking. Now we walk and talk to the end of the street, and she asked me a question. What do you do? And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I can't say McDonald's. Nah, man can't say McDonald's. That's not gonna look good if I say I work at McDonald's. Like, how's that gonna? It's because I was embarrassed. Now, his reasons why he's lying, I think, were maybe a little bit different. But I can see, like, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was like, I should be further along in life, and me coming and saying I work at McDonald's, how's that gonna look? So I said, I'm a blogger. No, I'm lying, because I am a blogger, but that doesn't pay me anything. That is not my job. My job is working at McDonald's. I flip burgers, okay, all right, and I flip them good, all right. But I'm like, I'm a blogger. She's like, I don't believe you. So I show her my blog. She starts reading. She's like, no, this is really good. No, this is not you. This is someone else. Plus, and what happened also, the name that I used to put at the bottom of the blog was Jojo Speaks. It's not Kojo. It's Jojo Speaks. Obviously, I've told her my name. My name is Kojo. So she's like, no, the names are different. Like, no, I don't believe you. So now I'm like, okay, what would it take for you to believe what I'm saying? She's like, okay. She asked me a question. What's the name on the bottom of the blog? Now, at this time, I had forgotten my name at the bottom of the blog, what I used to say. I don't know why it went out of my mind. And I didn't have my phone on me because I left it back at my boy's yard. So I couldn't even check the blog. I had my other phone, but it had no internet for it. I had no data on that phone. And I can only call in it. So obviously now I've said, okay, cool. I'll give me a second or two. I need to think about it. She's like, okay, as we're thinking about, we're gonna go to Tesco's. As she went to Tesco, I called my boy. I said, brother, what do I say on the bottom of my blog? Because I can't remember. Like, this girl's trying to test me. Right. Long story short, I didn't get nowhere. But in the part I wanted to focus on, okay, after she walks me around the block like it was Jericho, the part I want to focus on is the fact that I lied in that moment, right? And it's because of shame and embarrassment. Now, I'm not giving him a pass. There is no pass here. This is only explanation for the behavior. It is not a pass. It's just for us to understand where he's coming from, but it's no pass here because that is an insecurity. Because the girl never said anything. She was in uni. I just finished my university. She was in uni. Why was I feeling that pressed? That's got nothing to do with her and all to do with me. That's a solo issue. You need to deal with you, right? So just to give you no context of why that guy was doing what he was doing, I think you're ashamed and you're embarrassed and you are trying to measure yourself up against this woman rather than just coming correct and being true and say, actually, this is me. This is me. And the reason why is, again, he has nothing to offer. That is why he's doing what he's doing. That's it. He feels he has nothing to offer. And if you have nothing to offer, go and sit down and work it out and get what you need to offer and come and offer. There's no need to come and lie. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Look, man, guys, listen. I'm repeating myself. True love is just it's built on good friendship and it's built on vulnerability and honesty. It's not built on romance. It's not built on gifts and dinners. It's not built on that. It's built on how real you can be with each other and how you enjoy each other's company and accepting each other's faults and weaknesses. You will see a rich guy and poor woman and vice versa love each other. That's all good. I love that because it shows me that actually there's something deeper and more that they're built on. Do you know what I mean? But I ain't lying to anybody about what I am. This is me. Bro, she walked me around the block 7 times, not lying.
No, you don't read my comments.
They want to write a book on this one girl. Oh my gosh.
You obviously, you know, for yourself, you have something to offer. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this is, we're going to be having a men's conversation about this. Like, we're talking about this. What is a man's value? Right? Is a value based upon finances? Right? What value does he have? Right? Because like we're saying now, like for instance, that video we just saw there, right? She says she's a successful woman in her own right. She don't need a man. She's absolutely right. She don't. So if this guy hasn't got anything to offer of the same caliber potentially, he in his head he's thinking, I've got nothing to offer. I may have half, but I still got nothing to offer. Right? Because that was the one thing that as a man you had. And we're talking just basics. We're not talking about in reality, in truth of things, right? In the scheme of things, all he had was provision. Now, if you listen to the conversations from women sometimes about how they see a man, they call a man dusty just because he hasn't got enough money. So for a lot of men, that's pressure. So as much as we've got Kevin Samuels, we've got Pink Pill, right? Who infects actually a lot of women who are not even in part of Pink Pill. Right? We've got women who say, if he's not 6 foot, I can't date him. And trust me, brother, this is not for young people. This goes across the board. I'm not playing with you. There are people here rejecting people because they're not 6 foot. It's not a joke, right? So there are factors that men are seeing, right? That they're hearing from women. And it's not every woman, again. And it's, you know, sometimes the minority becomes the biggest voice for some reason. I don't know why that happens. And sometimes what they're hearing is, you ain't got this amount of money. You don't. You're not 6 foot. What are you doing? Huh? Can you sling the dick? If you can't, then we're wasted. Like that's the last thing you got going for you, bro. If you can't do that, fam, you're done. You're done. You know what I mean? So I think I'm not saying that it's right. I'm only explaining maybe why his mindset is going like that. In the thing he's thinking, what can I bring to the table? Right before he gets told that the woman says, I am the table. Then he's like, what else I bring to the table? I ain't got that left. So I think that's why some guys were thinking that they need to bring a certain thing so they're not dusty, so they're not below standard or whatever, below par. I mean, you guys have you been watching our Married at First Sight lives? Have you seen how the women have been talking about Gil? Then you'll realize why men are lying, some of them. Because a simple guy, he's just simple guy doing the basics, loving, being patient. He's dusty because he doesn't have 6 figures or he doesn't have a certain amount of money.
So is this the oldest one? That guy, the guy with a bald head? Is that him?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's tough out there.
But the thing is though, who's dissing him?
It's the ladies, the very people that we're wanting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe he's
everyone, by the way.
Maybe he's the boring type, you know, like in terms of he doesn't seem exciting.
No, he's a bit cheap, innit? He's a bit Ghanaian.
Okay.
He's a bit Ghanaian.
You said that, yeah, I didn't say that.
This is deep.
I'm thinking true though. He's a bit.
This runs into all these social constructs that run very strong in society. Men ultimately, generally, want to be providers. They want to be on top. The world has been like that for a long time. It's only in the last couple of 100 years that women have kind of picked up and taken off. And so it's in the DNA of society. But you miss out on so much, man. You know, when I got with Juanita, I had debt and I had nothing. I didn't have a pot. I didn't have a pan. I just had me and a bag of clothes, and that was it. I didn't have an education. I didn't have any defined skills. I guess that's an encouragement to say, forget the money, forget the status, brother, come as you are. Ladies, don't look at the money too much, please. Don't be looking like you just want to be looked after. None of that really kind of saved a marriage. None of that makes anybody happy. The only thing that's going to make you happy is the relationship you develop with each other. You know what I mean? I am that guy that people are running from. Yeah, I'm a nice guy, but it's not enough. Do you know what I mean?
It's not paying the bills. I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
I'm not paying the bills.
Nice guy's not paying the bills because I'm not gonna lie. So I can't deny the woman that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually agree with some of the stuff they say. I'll be honest with you because we are in 2021. Okay, Curtis.
What are you saying?
I'm saying. Listen, I'm saying this. Okay. Unfortunately, the bar has to raise because the women have raised the bar. It's just that simple. Because
where have they raised it to?
What do you mean? If they can now come into the workspace and earn a certain amount of money, and where men were previously having power was where they could actually earn finances and look after their family, that is no longer enough. You have to raise your bar. Unfortunately,
no, I don't agree. There's nothing wrong with raising a bar, but the premise that we're raising it on is dangerous.
No, but I mean, it's not. The standard has moved. See where
somewhere bad.
I wouldn't say necessarily bad, but I would say that whenever you have the opportunity to earn finances, freedom comes in, but so does ego. That's the problem. It's not the freedom, it's the ego, right? That's where men also have that problem. Earning money brings ego. This is why you now have women who have egos, big egos. They had egos before, but this is big egos now, right? Because now they're doing the same thing that we can do, right? So the problem here is that they've raised the standard in terms of, for instance, a lot of the burden or a lot of the weight that we put on men is financial provision, right? In this generation that we're talking about, they have raised the bar because they're not coming from zero anymore. Okay, you're not taking that woman from her father's home, and that's the one or two.
She got a house already.
She really got a house. Yeah, she probably got a car. Okay, and she can look after herself. So then the bar gets raised because it's like, okay, so what can you add? And this is where the ego comes in, because it's like, okay, how do we partner? But we can't partner because, like I said, the ego kicks in. It's unfortunate.
So when you want to raise the bar,
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm just saying that the bar has inflated. You know, it's got that on that level of things. The bar has raised. So now when women are looking at men and saying, "What are you bringing to the table?" I'm talking about financially, by the way.
That's what it could be.
I can understand why they're asking that question, because they no longer come from zero. You can't come from zero. You know what I mean?
You know what's interesting is that the economic, the demographic economics. Are white men at the top economically, black women, then white women, then black men.
That's why I said they got to raise the bar.
Now, raise the bar by all means, but we have a major disparity where women, and you'll see it in the UK, and this is a UK thing, by the way, I don't know what it is in America. In the UK, black men are struggling to get their careers. When I say black men, it's interesting because it's mostly West Indian black men. Yeah, which is a difference. But there's a struggle. We've gone through something. We're coming out. Our parents just got here on a boat 70 years ago. So I'm saying that there's a gap, and women have to think, boy, should I go for, black women have to think, should I just go for a white man and just not have to worry about anything?
That's true.
Or should I take a black guy and drop my economic status, drop my class?
That's a tough thing there.
That's exactly what happens. Sorry, Kelly, go on.
So I'm just trying to process and think where I stand in this. I feel like we have to go back. We have to go back in time, because I feel like, it didn't just happen here. Actually, black women have been smashing it from the door, right? So if we think of things as recently as, let's say, Windrush, yeah?
You have to explain, because I think there's an American audience. You have to.
Okay, right. Yeah. Okay, so Windrush was a boat, actually, that carried over 490 something passengers from the Caribbean, most of them being Jamaicans, but there were some others from Guyana and Trinidad, brought them over to England after the war in 1948, June 22nd, 1948. And because England had, the country been completely decimated after the war, and they needed to rebuild, and they didn't have the workforce. So the Caribbeans, there was an advert put out in the Caribbean asking for skilled workers. And that was what we called the Windrush generation. So from 1948, actually, black people had been in the UK from, long ago.
Yeah.
But this seems to be the most iconic time. And Caribbeans came over to help rebuild the country. Caribbeans were the first ones, and then the Africans and the Indians.
So that would have been your mum.
My grandparents.
Yeah.
My grandparents. So
your mum. Sorry, your grandparents. Sorry.
My grandparents came here, and they helped to rebuild England. My parents were the ones that were born in the Caribbean and left behind as children, and then brought over once grandparents were able to afford to bring their children over to the UK. Hence how me and Curtis were born here.
Yeah.
So a lot of women they trained as nurses. They were quite highly skilled women that were teachers. My grandmother was a teacher in Jamaica. When she came to the UK, her qualifications weren't even recognized. She had to start again, work in a factory.
Yeah.
And then built herself up and became, I think she ended up becoming a PA, and, for, quite, big companies in the city. She had a very, very good career. My grandmother earned more money than my granddad, who was a skilled laborer, but she still earned more money than him. My other grandparents, my grandmother was very, very skilled. My granddad ran a construction business. My grandmother, was the wind beneath his wings, in order to help him, with his business. He could never have succeeded without my grandmother. There are lots of women who, some of them where they had really difficult relationships with husbands and partners, ended up having to raise their children, but also having to work. And a lot of black women, especially in the Caribbean, they did well in the NHS, in children's social care. Those were the main settings where you would find those black Caribbean women in those public services. And they were smashing it, but the racism was really trying to keep them down. And I think that, in terms of how they were able to keep themselves at a level where they were able to keep a roof over their head and, raise the children and try and keep them out of trouble.
Yeah.
That wasn't an easy task to do, but they did it because they had to do it. Yeah. So if we're thinking about, how women are raising the bar now, I think of my grandparents, my grandmothers, my mum, that's the lineage that I come from. My mum and dad divorced when I was 15. My mum was the one that was working 3 jobs to pay a mortgage and to raise 3 children and keep us all out of trouble. And she did. And she raised successful people. So we look at, where we're coming from, and we're like, right, we've got a responsibility to do better. I've now got children, my brother's got children, and we're trying to do better, and trying to break through that glass ceiling. It's not easy. With Black Lives Matter now, I think, we're now busting open the doors now. Do you know what I mean? But I think that, we've been walking this walk for a very long time, and often we're standing on the shoulders of ancestors and standing on the shoulders of other, Black people, not just Caribbeans, but Africans and, even Indians, you know what I mean, that have come through, and we're trying to do better. And I think now we're in a society has changed so much now. And I can only say, as a woman, we've got to fight through, because I'm not going down like that. I'm not going down like that. But for me, it has to be, somebody has to be willing to build with me. You're not expecting them to, it's great if the bonuses are there and people have got cribs and, successful careers and whatnot. It's great. But are you able to build an empire as a unit?
I'm telling you. You see,
are you able to do that?
This is the Black history discussion that needs to happen. It's not, I don't just want to talk about how great some people were back in the day. I did that today, right? I don't want to just talk about it. I want to talk about how we're going to build our empires, our little home communities. You're a single mother. How are we going to work that? You want a man, you have a right to a man, Kelly. You now your choices now are about either building or tumbling down. Because as a Black woman, it's not a joke. I mean, things are changing now. Every movie and every poster I see has got a Black woman in it with an afro hair. I ain't never seen this before, right? Afro's actually in fashion now. Straight hair is coming out of fashion now, right?
Absolutely.
Black women have been through a lot and we market. We can't even just look at slavery, but if we look at the point of slavery and look at the stories that my grandma told, and she had a husband that was just no good. And she's raised the kids in the face of her racism and all that. But if she had to choose again, she would have to choose someone who's going to build with her. And that guy might be working in McDonald's. What are you going to put on your mic now, bro?
You know what? Yeah. Oh man.
He might be working in McDonald's, bro.
He might be, but you know what?
But he could be studying. He's working there part-time while he's studying full-time.
Yes. Then I need to see that there is some level. Even me as a man can see when I'm looking, I'm like, no, there must like, you can work at McDonald's, that's not a problem. But there must be some level of you having vision and goals and being driven. Yes. Do you know what I'm saying? To achieve more than just being a McDonald's, right? Because let me be honest with you, I think, and again, this is what I'm saying, that I think there are, I think, there are different things for different people, right? But I think a majority of men need to sit on the bench. Honestly, I think we need time to sit on the bench and figure ish out.
Yeah,
because for a lot of us men, especially in this modern era now, right? You need to be able to figure out what you want to do. So there's a vision and there's a goal and there's a destination, right? So that gives you that, so that you're not aimless, right? Because there's a 20 to 30 that 20 to 30 period where we can be sometimes aimless, and then it clicks at 30. And it's because at 20, we never were told or never really understood how to really be driven, or how to see ambition, or even how to even see that there is something at the end that we want to do. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So something that my dad used to say to me is, always have a dream. Yeah. And it didn't click until I got to 27. What he really meant by always have a dream. You know why? Because there was no blueprint to what this have a dream is situation. Martin Luther King had a dream, right? All right. But he had a plan. He did some actions behind that. I didn't know what the heck the dream was going to be. You know what I mean? And so let me put myself in his shoes. If there was a man that was me at 20 and my daughter was marrying him at 20, she's not marrying him. Not because he's not bad. Listen, I was a good youth. I was all right. I mean, apart from the stuff I was doing madness, but I mean, the other stuff, I was a good youth. I was educated. I was smart. I knew about myself and everything like that. But there was no real goal. Like, do you know what I mean? Yes, I'll go and get a career job, work in Barclays or whatever. But there was no real goal.
I agree.
Do you see what I'm saying? So for me, it's like it would have to go beyond even just he's a good guy or whatever. Where's that drive and everything like that? Where's that coming from? And I think that's maybe a men's conversation with other men's that we deal with in our society as well. But I think a lot of us, I'm not saying every man, this is not fit for every man. I think a lot of us need to sit on a bench, okay, and figure where we want to try and go to, right? Yeah. So that we have a goal, so that we can start working towards it. So I'm not saying that it can't work with the man at McDonald's. I'm just saying McDonald's can't be the end destination, and it can't be the part of the conversation when you don't know where you're going. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
But I know you weren't saying that. You guys weren't saying that. You weren't saying that. Well, Curtis is smiling. Why are you smiling like Curtis? Don't be smiling like that, bro. Don't be smiling like bro.
McDonald's is big for some people. I think we're all saying things, but I think that there are some exceptions to the rule that I think we can accept.
Of course,
McDonald's might be someone's limit, and as long as someone isn't lazy. As for a man like me, I was just scared to achieve. I never had a vision, and in a sense, so to speak, McDonald's or cleaning. It was my limit. That was my max, funny enough. But I totally agree with you, because if anyone stepped to my daughter and he's like, yeah, I'm just going out of her, I'm like, why? What's your purpose? Someone made a comment. The chat is firing off, so I can't even keep up with it, right?
Chat is
but someone said that marriage is this the thing, like, we don't get married because we love each other. I just don't believe that. I think that it's wrong to get married out of love. I think you get married because you have a greater purpose. What you do is based on love, but you don't get married because your heart's beating and romance. That's stupidness, right? You get married because you're about to, because humans need to work together, and we do a lot better when it's a man and a woman, typically, or a couple. Let me just say that now, at the time we're living in. But two people who working together, we work better in pairs too.
Agree.
Yeah. To hash out our nonsense, to grow ourselves, to develop ourselves, because there's a lot of mess inside here. Behind this Adidas top, man, you wouldn't believe what's going on. And it's that woman upstairs that listens to this show who gives me trouble, helps me work it out of my system so that I can be a better me. And then it's like, now we've got some of the mess out of the way. Let's write down some stuff on paper and see where we can advance this generation, this family. That's why we get married. So it's not the love, it's not the, and I don't need a woman who can cook. My wife can cook. I don't need a woman who can cook. I need someone who's willing to learn. Do you know what I mean? So we're looking at, and I do believe in marrying potential, but that's my thing. But yeah, let me shut up there, man.
I'm with you.
I was looking at this statement that marriage is always about building together, but it doesn't mean that we're all using the same tools exactly, because we all come with different strengths and areas of development.
Yeah.
So I guess it's about being able to might have a common goal and a common dream, may not necessarily be in the same genre, but the fact, what's in common is that you want to build. Yeah. And sometimes your partner may have the tools in order to help you move along in your dream, and you have the tools in order to help motivate and keep them on track, keep them grounded. You know what I mean? Right, actually, this probably is a good, or holding them accountable for things and, reviewing goals and where both of you are at. You know what I mean? You don't have to use exactly the same tools, because we don't all have exactly the same tools that we can work with. That's why our tools should be able to complement one another.
So what do you think about the man earning less in that situation where you're both building, but he will say, look, you're the earner, I'm going to take care of business on this side of the fence, you go out there and you pull them peas, so earn that money.
Well, yeah, I know about the peas, bro. It depends on his motivation and what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? No, real talk, because
I like that.
Because people can talk and talk about their dreams and whatnot, but then actually there's just too much talking and no action going on. So you have to be able to kind of, I guess, measure it and see, okay, what is it that you're actually doing? What are the results? If there is a delay, what is the delay about? What's happening? Do you know what I mean? Is there something that I can support with? Now, you know, there comes a point in time where you can't parent that man, you know, because you can't be behind him all the time. If his only way of actually moving and doing stuff is, you know, because of you being on their tail. No,
that's different.
We all have to be accountable for ourselves, you know what I mean? And be able to motivate ourselves. But, you know, in terms of the common goal of, you know, of trying to achieve, you know, maybe purchasing a property, you know, having children and putting them into very good schools, you know what I mean? And investing in their education, or, you know, being able to save for your retirement so that you guys can retire early. You know, there's all kinds of things. Do you know what I mean? Nurturing particular dreams. You know, there's, you know, when I think of me, when I got into my career of the therapy, I was nearly 40, you know, with 2 kids. What was I doing? But I had to. So it meant that, you know, I had to take the lean in order to be able to, you know, to get to the other side. And that wasn't easy, you know, it was very, very difficult. But
why was it hard?
Because I had to pay out a lot, you know. Training as a therapist it's not cheap at all. You don't get student loans. You have to fund everything yourself. Oh, you've gone all funny, Curtis.
Again.
Oh dear.
Yo, his internet is on press.
Oh my gosh.
God, sorry, say that again.
Can you hear me? What I'm gonna do?
But go back to 4G, bro.
Right, 4G.
To go back to 4G today, internet's not reliable. It's all good. Yeah, go for it, sis.
Yeah, it was tough because there was no money. You know, there was no money whatsoever, and 2 very, very young children. You know, and you know, there were times when I thought, boy, I don't know if I can really do this. Do you know what I mean? I really don't know. But, you know, I guess for me, the discerning thing for me was doors and windows of opportunities were opening. So that's how I then thought, if it's not for me, then I would be struggling to try and open these doors. But the doors were opening, even though I was not in a position to be able to kind of fund things easy breezy like some of my other classmates. It was nothing to them. You know, I had to work the same amount of hours. I then had to fit placement in, had to do the work, had, you know, my 2 very young babies. You know, it was hard, you know, so, but a decision had to be made, you know, and I'm thankful because I can look back at that time and say, boy, that time was hard. But, you know, where I am today, I wouldn't be here today had I not have gone through that period, and had I not have had that support to help me through that period. Do you know what I mean? So I had a dream, I had an ambition, you know. Again, it was something that I had to, you know, really discern and pray whether, is this really where I need to be? I need to make sure that this is proper before I spend all these thous, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Trying to build a little empire out here.
There's two last questions quickly.
Oh.
We'll answer these really quick. Last two questions real quickly. Why do women get so offended and triggered when they're asked what they bring to the table, especially black women? I don't have a dog in this fight. Some
But you know
fights, I
what?
just don't have a dog in it. I just don't have a dog in it. You know what I mean?
I think it's a really bad question to ask. I don't like the question. The question is, it alludes to that whole kind of transactional, or what's your value, what's your worth, what you're bringing to me, and you don't approach a relationship like that.
Mm-mm.
It's just it's a really ugly way to approach a topic of. Imagine what are you bringing to the table. Sex. I'm bringing sex. How often do you want it? Good, you're in. That's what a guy will say. Cool, you're in.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear? What do you want to hear?
Mm.
So I think it's a really ugly question, to be honest.
Mm. No, and I think it's this thing about why do women get offended and triggered? It's like delivery. It's all in the delivery. If we deliver questions differently, I think
That's a cantankerous question.
It is a bit cantankerous, to be honest, because real talk,
What?
if somebody came, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, the question is just is a means. I mean, you say that in a marriage, in a relationship, that a committed relationship. What are you bringing to the table? You're destroying your marriage. You're just asking that alone.
Mm.
You know what you're doing.
But you have to get to know one another. You know what I mean? You get to know people's morals and values, and you see what you see the values that they're bringing, and you make that assessment. Actually, is that in line with who I am and what I stand for? And you have more deeper conversations about it without actually having to ask that specific question. You may see the evidence of it, and you're like, yes, this is what this is what I'm looking for. And then as you start to get more serious with your relationship, then more questions starts to open up. You know what I mean? You start to ask more pertinent questions about where you'd see yourself, what's happened so far. Because like I said, in the first few months of a relationship, people are bringing a representative of themselves. It's not actually them yet. You know what I mean? It's not them yet. So everyone is on best behavior and is popping their collars and, you know what I mean? Yes, I'm this person, I'm that person. But actually give it 3-4 months, you know what I mean, down the line, when everybody is now, fully letting go and the representative now starts to fall away and the real person is showing. Is that this real person here? Is that the person that I can see myself with? A
better question to ask is, what can we build together? How can we be productive?
Okay.
How can we make 100 grand? Let's write it down on paper. Don't ask me what I'm bringing to the table. I'm not your partner. I'm your wife or I'm your girlfriend, and we're here for life. What are you asking that question for? We're not in business. Do you know what I mean? We're in a, if you like, you could say a covenant. You can use another word if you want. That tells you a lot about your purpose. And then I get on my feed. There's forums with guys who are attacking girls. A lot of the time, these girls are strippers or rappers. They don't have their ethics sorted. Their parents didn't give them a good, strong base of ethics to function. So it's easy to take advantage of them apart. But women who are, or you have couples who culturally building together is in their system. You can't ask them questions like that. They're built for this game. They're built, some cultures like us in the West, we're damaged, we're good at this. Other cultures are built for marriage. How are we going to do this, bro? Yeah, someone calling you. Yeah, how can we build this? And so that's a Kevin Samuels question. Do you know what I mean? Why do women get so irate? Because it's an irritating question. What if the guy has a really good job, makes good money, but he has
Bad credit.
bad credit? Should the girl not consider him as a dating option? What do you reckon? It depends on what he shows you.
Yeah,
Go on.
and the thing is, like, okay, so it depends on what stage of your dating life that, you know, with them that you're in, you know, where you can start to have conversations in terms of finances, especially if you're thinking about meshing your finances with his finances. There'll be that, oh dear, everyone's gone. Oh goodness. It is all silent here. I think Curtis's internet has gone down. Right. Anyway, I'll just continue with it. So it does depend on on how far you are into your dating, how far into dating this particular person that you're with.
Mm.
Now, there is something about, you know, trying to understand people's spending habits. You know, what is it that's causing the bad credit? That's a conversation that you need to have. It just depends on how you have the conversation, or you might observe things that they might be doing that, you know, would think, okay, that's probably contributing to the you know, to the bad credit.
Yeah.
Maybe having a discussion with him and see how he feels about it, if he's willing to be open, if he's willing to take suggestions. I don't think you necessarily need to write them off, but I think you do need to kind of have an idea of what kind of bad credit they have. Like, there needs to be an open and honest discussion about it. Like I said, once you're thinking about meshing your money with him, you know, anything that kind of happens to you, especially if you're married, your finances becomes joint. So if he's not spending right, he could potentially, you know, pull you backwards. So I think it's important to have that conversation and, you know, really kind of get a bit of an understanding as to what it is and can it be repaired. It could be somebody can have bad credit for something really minor. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not always, you know, consistently, you know, bad spending habits. So yeah, I think you need to understand the context behind the bad credit. And maybe, I mean,
the question is actually, should a girl not consider? So they're not dating yet. And but I agree with you. I think your point still stands. If you can't get to the bottom of why it's like that before or during the dating phase, then that's a red flag, because if you can't have conversations about it, it means you're hiding something.
Yeah.
So I would say explore. The word is, for me, explore it.
Yeah.
But I know in the US, you've got a big thing about credit. Over here, we don't really bother with that so much.
Yeah, I've heard of people, because you know, I've heard people, like, I've, you know, watched the reality shows, innit? And they talk about good credit, and they're like, yeah, my credit is da 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 da. And I'm thinking, really, is that what they do on their dates? Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't even know what my credit, you know, just about remember what my credit score is. Do you know?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so I think culturally it's different. I think over here we may not necessarily be our first point of call. Do you know what I mean? Or wanting to know what's your credit score. It's more when you're looking to buy a crib together and you're like, yeah, what's your credit score? You know?
That's it.
But yeah.
Amen. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again for you guys. When it comes to money, it's really about their ethos around money. Look, you can be unyoked in the ethos of money. How they see money and how they spend it, how they deal with it. You just got to find out. Like I think you've kind of touched on it. What is the bad credit? You know, what is the source of the bad credit? Is it spending? or is it a failed mobile phone bill that was 4 years ago? Do you know what I mean? Because these in the UK for us, like things like that stay on your account for 6 years. You know, they can send you, they can send you account for 6 years. So you could have bad credit for the next 6 years. Do you know what I mean? Was it a parking ticket that you missed? Was it and you know what I mean? Stuff like that can happen, or you could have a bad period in your time. You know what I mean? Where in the past it's affected you. Maybe you had depression or something like that, and it just affected you in that moment, and it affects you for the next few years. That's workable. Because that person will, hopefully they're aware and they're trying to make amends for it and just doing their bit. But yeah, if the person is just like a really bad spender, you might want to ask yourself the question whether you have the capacity to deal with that person. Because once, as you were saying, Kelly, as well, once you join your finances together, I'm gonna tell you this now: that joint account that you put together, baby, one day you go in there, the money's gone. Okay, because that person's got compulsive spending ability. So you just really got to know who the person you're interacting with and how they deal with money on a day-to-day basis. That will give an inkling around that. So yeah, just be wise.
And the issue around that isn't even the money.
Yeah, it's not. It's a deeper issue.
It's a deeper issue.
No, right on the whiteboard.
What's the reason behind the spending?
Impulsivity, dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Impatience. Yeah. So
I remember I briefly counseled someone who, it was actually a female, which is usually the reverse, but she got me through YouTube and was like, I'm in love with a guy. We've been together a couple of years. I've been lying to him about my financial situation. I'm actually quite poor, and I've accrued a lot of debt to impress him because I want him to think that I'm where he is.
That's not unusual. Trust me, that's not unusual, bro. I was saying, I've got stories for days. That's not unusual.
Then he found out,
more
and now she wants out because she's been lying. In my opinion, he wanted out anyway, but that's not happening to me, and I don't think anybody keeping up appearances is like, you don't have a relationship on that basis. There's no relationship. If you have to keep up appearances and you're with someone who you have a relationship with, you are not in a relationship. Don't fool yourself. Anyway, I'll stop there. Did you have another question?
No, I didn't. I was just saying that, it's not unusual to have the ladies also with bad spending habits and credit nonsense, fam. I'll be honest with you, but that's a story for another day, guys. So
oh no.
What have I not experienced?
Oh no.
What have I not experienced, eh? So I know. I mean, I know what you're talking about when you say that. So yeah. Okay, so because we reached a 2-hour mark now, so guys, audience members, thank you so much. Listen, next week, make sure you send us your dilemmas ahead of time. If you wanna share your dilemma, or you've got something that it's on your mind, you want to share with us, send it to the email down below for next week's session, and we'll get it popping, And yeah, it's been a good session today. It's been enjoyable, So just make sure you guys take the wisdom that you need from this situation and apply as and when needed to you guys. But I'm gonna let my guests do an outro. Yeah, an outro, so they can let them know where you can find them and what they do, etc. Just a little bit about them. So, Kelly, give them a little outro for yourself.
Oh goodness. Okay, so my name is Kelly Broderick, and I am an integrative therapist that works with adults, individuals, and couples. And you can find me on Inner Transitions on Instagram. You can DM me. Sometimes the messages don't always sometimes come through on time, but message me and persistently. My phone is better now, so so you can always ask me any questions or just inquire about my services.
Likewise, I mean, this is Marriage UK. You can get us on Instagram, TikTok, a little bit on YouTube.
Oh wow, you're smashing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to smash it. And we offer a similar service where we counsel individuals, life coaching as well. We're working with people for many years in our professions, and we're imparting that to couples, singles, divorced, married, whatever. If you need help, if you need that support, let us know. And again, Kelly and Kojo are just as good. if not better. So I appreciate your time, people. Thank you.
All right. Guys, thank you so much, Kelly and Curtis, for joining us today. Audience, make sure you have a good day today. Again, if you have a dilemma, send it in to us so we can get it for next week's episode. But until then, we will love you and appreciate you. Stay locked and stay loaded.